Congressman Jason Chaffetz recently made news when he went on a talk show and said poor people afraid of losing health care maybe shouldn't buy that new iPhone they just had to have. Make better choices, he said. Nothing new among GOP reps. Sometimes the toy changes, it's not an iPhone, it's a flat screen, but the premise remains the same. Build contempt for the poor, they're lazy, greedy, entitled, etc., and then you can get away with socialism for the rich. And it works. Somehow people buy it. They even got regular people to oppose regulations. Regulations exist to protect the public from exploitation and from the greed that leads to poisoned air, poisoned water, unsafe working conditions, and so forth. An example from Trump's cabinet is our new Secretary of Commerce, the billionaire vulture capitalist Wilbur Ross. In 2006, Ross owned a mine when 12 miners died in an explosion. At the time, there were over 200 safety violations against them. I can see how Ross would oppose regulations, and yes, he does, stridently. But why would the miners? Or just a few days ago, the White House was caught plagiarizing an ExxonMobil press release and passing it off as news. I'm not concerned about the plagiarism. I'm concerned that the White House interests and ExxonMobil's interests are now so overlapped that the White House is doing Exxon's advertising, which we knew would happen when the new Secretary of State, the former CEO of Exxon, was given $150 million upon taking the government position. That's oligarchy. You, the Trump voters, are so contemptuous of safety net programs and initiatives to help fight poverty like early childhood education, but you think nothing of gifting your tax dollars to the wealthiest few. You fight big government, which you don't understand, but you will roll over for corporate control, not realizing it's a tyranny all its own. We've never had so many billionaires, but we've also never had so much child poverty. Our productivity has never been higher, but it's not trickling down. It's hoarded at the top. I once had someone issue me a challenge. He said, "Hey, libtard, I challenge you to go to any supermarket and see if people with their food stamps aren't gaming the system." You know what? Challenge accepted. Let's do that. Let's all go. First, let's look at the food prices. Did you know that food costs more in poorer areas where people can least afford to pay more? It's well documented. Then, let's look at the effective tax rates of the cashiers and custodial crew versus the CEO and the higher-ups. Let's look to see how their respective salaries have increased or not increased over the years. Let's stroll through the aisles and learn about corporate subsidies. Yes, let's educate ourselves on gaming the system. I beg you, stop letting yourselves be manipulated. Stop hating the poor so much that you let yourselves and your children and your elderly parents be robbed blind. And for you, Jason Chaffetz, let's talk about healthcare. The bill you Republicans just rolled out was a gift to the wealthiest few and an FU to everyone else, especially the most vulnerable among us, denounced by the American Medical Association, Children's Hospital Network, AARP, and so many others. Obamacare was signed in March of 2010. You had 7 years to come up with something that gave the slightest indication that you gave a shit. You didn't, because you don't. And I hope folks remember in 2018.